It was like immediate. I can't even explain the turnaround on it. I think my very first brand deal was signed and contracted within 24 hours of being on the platform. And it was a 5-figure deal that seemed to have the opportunity to be an ongoing deal.
Welcome back to the podcast where we explore the creator economy and how you can succeed in it. Now, our guest today is a talent agent, but also a social media coach for creators at Jordan Marketing, with an incredible success story, boasting a 2x growth on their income in the first month using Creatorland, and potentially a 3x on their income as a creator using Creatorland in 2 months. They're also incredibly passionate about educating others in the creator economy, and they're here to share their experience with us today. So Rose Jordan, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You don't know how pumped I've been to have this conversation with you. When we sat down to talk about your crazy success that you've had using Creatorland and also just your journey as a creator and everything that you're doing, I was like, we can't wait. And I was checking my calendar. I'm like, oh, that's next week. Sweet. I don't have to wait until January to set up and have this conversation. But Rose, I wanted to sort of talk about yourself. Can you give the audience, creators, creative professionals, just a bit of an insight into your background and what you do as a talent agent and a social media coach for creators?
Yeah, of course. So I actually spent the past 15 years as a luxury brand manager for luxury fashion brands in New York City. So I worked for Michael Kors, Ralph Lauren, Tommy Hilfiger, Macy's, Bloomingdale's, working on brand outreach, brand development. And I decided kind of in 2020, when the world hit us all, we were furloughed at that time. I kept my job for a small amount of time at home and then was furloughed. And I kind of just got really enthusiastic about this content creator position, so to speak, that was out there. So I took that skill set from being a luxury brand manager and I transferred it right into social media. So what are customers looking for? What are they shopping? How do you elevate a brand? How do you outreach a brand? And I kind of reverse engineered the whole system. So working on the other end of it, I most recently was at Ralph Lauren and I would receive probably 100 inbounds a day from content creators saying, hi, my name is so-and-so. I want to be a content creator for Ralph Lauren. I saw your contact on LinkedIn. And I wasn't even in social media at Ralph Lauren. My brand management role was outside of that. And I was like, wow, this seems like really like a lot of people are doing this. So what's up with it? So I spent that whole time furloughed just kind of investigating, so to speak, and learning TikTok, learning Instagram, learning trends, social media. And then I took that and pivoted it into a content creator role for myself. And I did, in 2021, go back to my corporate position for another 2 years and kind of wrote it out while I was content creating as well. But learning it on the back end and then the front end was a really interesting experience that a lot of creators I've met obviously haven't had. And I think it has really transferred into my role as a content creator and now talent manager as well. So when I meet content creators, I have a really quick ability to be like, this is the niche you should probably work in based on your interests. This is where you should target. This is where you should outreach. And I'm sure you know this, never a one size fits all kind of journey. People sell courses and webinars and all these things, and you really, you can't touch that many people doing that because every single person is going to have a unique experience in this space.
Mm-hmm. So as a creator yourself, you've dipped your toes into what it's like to be the creator, but you've also got the business background. And so you've really got both sides of it. What kind of creating or content are you producing right now sort of for your own personal brand?
So I started in 2021 in the beauty space, mostly just because that was kind of all that was out there in my niche at that time. But it has, for me, based on my fashion background, transferred back into fashion, into retail, into resale goods, so vintage goods, estate sales, online sales, that kind of stuff.
Cool. And now you mentioned we've got this amazing quote that I mentioned in your bio, and it was all about how you are talking about you've grown your income basically 2x, 3x using the platform Creatorland. Are you getting currently just sort of paid work? When did you start doing paid work for brands as a creator?
Paid work as a creator, I would say, was late 2021, about November 21. I'm coming up on about 2 years.
Yeah.
I did spend my first 6 months as a creator intentionally not taking paid work
Mhm.
because I didn't really think that my work translated to paid work at that time. And I really wanted to learn it and I wanted to practice and build a portfolio. So a ton of people in that time period were just looking for brand deals. And I was reaching out to anyone that I could saying, if you'll send me free product, I'll make a video for you. And I knew that through that, I probably wasn't making the best videos. And honestly, sometimes those, memories come up on TikTok and I'm like, oh my God, that's so embarrassing. That video is awful. But that's how I learned. And that's how you do learn. I think as an artist or a creator in any capacity, you're never the best when you start, right? So I didn't really feel my work was super valuable at that time. And then I got into, a couple $100, $50, $200 brand deals from there. And now I scale at packages 1,500 plus.
And was this sort of, was it a mix of influencer or UGC work, or was it one or the other at the time when you were sort of just starting?
I would say it was more UGC work when I was starting. My page didn't have a ton of followers. I was under 5K on all platforms. Even now, I would say I do get some influence work, but I prefer UGC work.
Yeah. And what was your process like when you started reaching out to people where before you are around that 5K mark and you were just starting to get these deals done? Did it look like going and DMing people on Instagram, connecting to them on LinkedIn, scrolling through what brands, branded content's out there?
I could write the book on doing it the wrong way because I never did any of that.
Okay.
I learned the DM trick maybe 6 months to a year in, but the first, few months I was just outreaching to brands whose emails I could find online. So I'm very well versed on LinkedIn throughout my career. I've had to use it a multitude of times. So I was searching brands, searching PR managers, social media managers, wasn't DMing them on LinkedIn, but I was looking for their email addresses. And I was just sending, no exaggeration, probably 800 cold emails a week. And not through a mail merge, not through a generic, handcrafted emails of, hi, I'm, Rose Jordan. And I was always pitching my experience in luxury brand management because I do think that transfers so heavily to content creation. But, I went on Canva, I made my own little media kit to send to them. And month over month, I was getting more and more deals, not necessarily paid. And then I made a pretty quick turn in early 2022. And I was like, you know what? I can't do this for free anymore. I was working full time. I had 2 kids under 2 years old. I was volunteering in my local community. And I was like, this is just becoming too much. I wanted to make this lucrative. I don't want this to be a hobby. I want it to be lucrative. And then I started really elevating my rates, learning better video skills, buying better equipment, using microphones, using editors and stuff like that.
It's a confusing process. And like what you've just explained there's so many little details to all of that. And that could be like a big topic and then a bunch of subtopics and then a bunch of subtopics, it goes really deep for every little aspect that you're talking about. And that's how it can be really very overwhelming, I guess. And that's me fumbling my English there. But as a creator, you kind of you're pumping out 800 emails a month. That's a lot of work, and you're working alongside that and raising a young family. That is some serious output. How many people just responded to you saying, hey, we're not looking for anyone? Did you get people that say, yeah, we'll put you in mind, keep you in mind, we'll keep you on our list? Did you have a lot of people that just didn't respond? Can you talk us through that sort of process?
Yeah, I would say about 60% I just wouldn't even get a response. And then I would get 10% of people that would say, we're not looking to send out anything for free right now, but we'll reach out when we do. And in full transparency, a lot of them did follow up and reach back out later. But once they saw my following starting to grow, my quality starting to grow, And I was always impressed by that because for someone in their role to be maintaining the searchability of someone, just if they're doing it with one, they're probably doing it with all. 10% of them, I would, just get the cold no. And then quite a few people, though, would respond and fairly quickly to send free product. I found the best turnaround in my early days. And, all of this changes moment by moment. So I don't know if this is relevant to today, but was Amazon sellers, because those were people that wanted Amazon reviews, wanted product reviews, wanted video review, wanted it to be on TikTok at that point. And especially in the beauty space, I found a really good turnaround with it. But again, it was just free product. It didn't really translate too much to me at that time.
When you saw that being a sort of a successful sort of thing, did you then go to Amazon and then start to search up the stores in that niche and then directly contacting them or trying to skim their email from that and then contacting them via email? Is that what you saw was the process?
So I found that the Amazon influencer program was just kind of launching at that time. It may have existed prior, but it was not being advertised prior. And I think I applied to it at about 1,500 followers on like TikTok and Instagram equivalently. Got denied right off the bat. And I was like, my goal, like nobody could stop me from getting to 5,000 followers because for some reason in my mind, that was going to get me into the Amazon influencer program. And that was going to get me into paid deals and stuff like that, specifically on Amazon at that time. I was so focused on it. And I think I hit like 3,000 followers. It was a random day. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to apply to it again. Let me just see, like, what's the worst they could say? And I got approved that day. And from that time was when I felt my own shift in the creator economy. And it could have been personal to me. It could have been the time period. But it seemed like once I was accepted into that program, I didn't even have to send outbounds anymore. I was getting inbounds. But again, those were smaller scale projects. It was, we'll send you product for $25. We'll send you product for $50 Amazon gift card. It wasn't anything that was breaking the bank or feeding the family.
And just coming back to sort of the media kit that you had crafted for Canva, did you refine that over time? And did you find that as you refined that, you potentially got more interest when you added a bit more something special to it? Yeah. Can you walk us through that?
About a year ago, I came to a point, I used the same media kit for about a year and a half. And if I like look at it at this point, it would just crack me up because I didn't even know how to use Canva at that time. So it was not properly done in any capacity. The graphic design work wasn't great. The colors weren't great. But at like early 2022, I made a commitment to myself that every single month on the same day of every month, I was going to go in and adjust my media kit. And doesn't necessarily mean that my prices would change month to month or anything, but I would upload new relevant examples. At that point, my media kit was like a 2-page PDF document that was like basically a resume. At this point, my media kit's like a full-blown website with video crafted examples and photo crafted examples. So I go in on the 15th of every single month and update that for the past almost 2 years now. And I've seen tremendous result from that because even when I go back and look at the old one, the content examples, the brand examples, it's so not relevant to today's creator economy. And nothing will blow my mind more than how fast the creator economy changes. And just working in this space for about 4 years now, like looking back on 4 years ago, it's baffling what we were doing 4 years ago versus what we're doing today as creators. So if your media kit's not relevant to that, it's not going to get out there and no one's going to bite on it.
You're just making me remember my first TikTok video. And
it's painful when those memories.
It was the sound, and I remember the sound. It was like, do you ever just wonder what's going on inside their head? And then it was some funky music playing afterwards, and it was just, I was sitting on some sidewalk, then I made this video, and I don't know why that just came back to me there, but you make me think, and I'm like, yeah, that's cringe as, because and thinking back, you're like, that what we were doing 4 years ago, just creating funny, goofy videos, how quickly it's changed to we can. As creators.
Well, even like I always tell people that I manage, like, how often do you see someone dancing on TikTok now? And when we all started it, if you weren't dancing, what were you doing? Like, you were never creating content. You were
Yeah.
dancing and adding content. And I'm like, now if someone's dancing on TikTok, you're kind of like, what are they doing?
Oh yeah, exactly. But I don't actually mind that now. I think this to transition shift. I'm like, oh, I don't come to TikTok right now to get a bunch of value and informative content. I just want to watch really funny, cool, trending
Funny.
sound
Yep.
videos and just numb my mind for a second. So I think I've actually switched from that was all that was consumed to I want to find value. Now it's sort of flipped a little bit, which is very interesting dynamic. But you've given us a bit of insight into what it was like before you started using Creatorland and how you sent a ridiculous amount of emails, you updated your media kit, and how you were very persistent to get yourself to where you were. When did you come across Creatorland?
I want to say it was late August, early September of this year. I got an email, I believe it was from Brian, asking if
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to join the waitlist. It was funny because I'll never forget actually reading this email, because I was kind of, burnt out at the end of my rope with creating. We all hit these roadblocks and points where
Yeah.
we're just kind of over it. And I remember reading it and I was like, here we go. Like, another platform is going to sell me a bunch of brand deals that don't pay anything, because I've signed up for, I could write you a Bible on how many of these I've signed up for
Mm.
or been advertised, or, they pop up like, you can get paid brand sponsorships, you can get this. And I would sign up and they're $50, $75, Amazon credit, free product, not really valuable, tangible, creator income. And I so specifically remember looking on my phone on the beach. I scrolled to the bottom of it and I was seconds away from just deleting the email. And I was like, you know what? What if this is the one thing that's different? Like, what if? And just give it a try. Just try it. So I signed up for the wait list. I was shortly after, maybe like late September, accepted in. I had, spoken to some people at Creatorland via email, and then kind of connected with some people on LinkedIn as well in early October. And that's when it like really took off for me. It was like immediate. I can't even explain the turnaround on it. I think my very first brand deal was signed and contracted within 24 hours of being on the platform. And it was a 5-figure deal that seemed to have the opportunity to be an ongoing deal, but I could definitely sense some hesitation from, the department that I was working with this company. And it was, and understandably so. Like, how many of these companies put someone on a monthly retainer and then just get awfully videos month over month? So
Yeah.
we signed a contract. At first it was a little loose, like, you could create as many videos as you want for this rate. And I was like, great, I'll create 200 videos for that rate. And then it was like, well, let's start with 5. So I did a 5-package deal with them. It went really, really well. I had reached out to the person I was in contact with, like, not even 3 weeks later. I was working an estate sale, which is just kind of something I do in my free time. And I reached out to this person and said, hey, I think this would be like super lucrative for the project we worked on prior. And since we've signed monthly retainers, I've done multiple projects with the same company. And all this connection was through Creatorland.
Okay. So that is crazy cool. And I think for the new creator, that's really exciting to hear that you just a couple of hours pretty much into the platform and you had created this massive opportunity for yourself to create an ongoing relationship and really make some income as a creator. When you first got into the platform, what was your first thing that you did? Did you do any profile research? How did you set up your profile? What did that look like? Can you talk us through sort of that?
So as a talent manager and my experience in brand management, like the one thing I am most passionate about when creating anything is SEO.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really specific with my profile, my keyword searchability on it. Obviously, everybody on the platform is going to write UGC. Every single person is going to write, I'm a beauty creator, I'm a fashion creator. Like, those are buzzwords. But I tried to be really specific and really niche to what I was looking to do. So I still include those words, but I also include a ton of keywords that go with them. I think when we think about searchability, we think, okay, I'm a UGC creator, and they're going to look for a UGC creator. If you type in UGC on Creatorland, like I think it's 10,000 people at this point that come up.
Hmm.
So like, how likely are you to be found in that? So searching the words alongside of it that a business investor or a business CEO or a marketing department are going to be looking for, like not UGC creator, UGC fashion creator, UGC upscale creator, UGC brand development creator. So using more strategic searchability, I definitely used. The very first day I set up my platform, I emailed Brian and said, why can't we upload videos on the platform yet? That was like the first thing I noticed, because I really wanted to upload like a portfolio the way my
Hmm.
media kit was. And he said that is coming soon. So that's super exciting. But I did go, I uploaded some photos. To be honest with you, I have not done a ton of UGC work that's been photo work. Most of
Hmm.
my work is video work. So I didn't have a tremendous amount of examples to show there. But more outreach. And the one thing, so I actually just recommended Creatorland to two creators that I don't manage, but I just kind of, you get into social circles with people doing the same thing as you. And they were kind of telling me today, like, I hit this burnout mark. I'm like, you have to check out Creatorland. Like, that's where you need to be. Stop applying to all these small jobs that take you hours to complete and you're not getting much compensation for. And they were like, well, what's so different about it? And I was like, the one thing I will say about the platform is you have to align it with an incredibly strong LinkedIn presence, because every single deal that I've gotten from the platform has told me, I found you on Creatorland and then I looked you up on LinkedIn. So I'm
Hmm.
seeing right now there's a lot of compatibility between the two. And in late August of this year, so right around the time I kind of got connected with Creatorland, I said to myself, I was like, as a creator, I'm still treating it like a side job or a freelance job. I'm not telling people I do this. I'm not putting it out there. It's not highlighted on my LinkedIn. And I went into my own LinkedIn and changed all of that.
Hmm.
Updated every single thing I could to be relevant to what I want to be doing and what I was working towards, rather than just what I was doing. And I've noticed on the platform that there's a lot of co-compatibility still. And I think that's great. Like, I, as a business manager, I double research things all the time. I'm not just going to find you on a platform and say, here's this amount of money to work for me. I want to see that you're vetted and you're verified. And I think a lot of people think when they create that just goes back to like, oh, well, they'll look at my TikTok, they'll look at my YouTube. And that's not how a CEO or a CFO or a CMO thinks. They want to know that you're a business professional that they're hiring to do the work.
Hmm. Yeah, that really makes sense. And as a creator, you wear if you want to make money, if you want to make a living as a creator, you wear so many different hats because you're basically an entrepreneur. You're running a business now. You need to understand the ins and outs of running a business, how to be organized, time management, all the skills that come with running a business, and how to present yourself like a business. And I think if you set yourself up on your LinkedIn profile to complement Creatorland and show that to whoever's searching for you, it just adds that layer of credibility. I can't tell you like how many times I've looked at podcasters and then that have applied to say a podcast and then go, well, I need to go check out their podcast. Also, do they have a LinkedIn? What's their website? Do they have a social presence? What are they doing? Before I go, yeah, because I need to qualify that this is the kind of person that I want to bring into the show, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. It's very similar to how your LinkedIn is probably set up and why you were reached out to by these brands and they've assessed your credibility. But talk to me because I really want to understand, and I'm sure creators like, okay, you set up your profile and then all of a sudden it just happened. You've got an extensive LinkedIn background and in the professional space there, and then you've come onto Creatorland. I just sort of checked roughly with your profile. You have under 30 connections. So was your outreach really targeted when
Yes.
you were connecting to people? Can you talk us through how you found the ideal people to connect with, and then what did you do when you landed on the right profile? How did you go to their LinkedIn, their website? What did you do from there?
So I think that what a lot of people are searching when they're creators is for marketing people. And what I've learned through my own creator experience, even aside from this platform, is brands that have a marketing department have a less marketing budget. And I know that from working in marketing my entire career too. So if we're talking, just like for beauty example, if we're talking Tarte Cosmetics, right? They're paying millions of dollars a year to chief marketing officers, marketing assistants, social media managers, digital content creators, social media interns, XYZ. When you're looking at companies that don't actually have a marketing department, those are the companies that are going to be more willing to spend on a marketing budget because they, first of all, don't already spend on that marketing budget. They're not doing brand trips, brand deals, brand this, brand that. They have no brand presence and no brand awareness. And that's almost the most target market you want as a creator because they need you more than you need them. So when I was searching companies, I was searching words like, CEO, CFO, founder, venture capitalist, kind of just major buzzwords for higher ups in a company. But then I was also doing back end research on those companies to say, okay, this person doesn't even have a marketing person that works in their organization. How badly do they need a video right now? How badly do they not even know how to create a video right now?
Mm-hmm.
Typically what it comes down to. And I did learn that a little bit before joining the platform, but I really utilized that since being on Creatorland. So I've done multiple projects, but I've worked with 3 specific companies since being on the platform. All 3 of them do not have a marketing department, do not have a marketing officer, but they all have a marketing budget.
Okay, so just to reiterate, for those who may have got lost in translation, basically, Rose, you used Creatorland, you found the target you kind of went through those keywords of people that you were trying to target, CEO, all those type of people. You then hit their profile. You then either go, if they've connected their profile, you went straight to their LinkedIn and then started looking up their company from there. Or if they didn't, then you search their name across in LinkedIn just to check if they hadn't have added it. And then you worked your way through to figure out if they had a marketing department or not. And then from there, you sort of, I'm guessing like you did with your 800 emails, you curated a really personalized pitch to that company. Exactly. Did you still go back towards email, or did you then try to connect over LinkedIn at that point?
I connect with everybody over LinkedIn since being on Creatorland. I have only connected through LinkedIn.
Yeah. And it was a really cool gateway for you to then go and do
and every single one of them, just so it's out there, did have their LinkedIn connected.
I didn't
that. Actually search any of them. They all had LinkedIn connected. But then once I went onto LinkedIn, you scroll down, then you click on the company profile, and I see that there's 8 people or 12 people or 20 people working for the company, but none of them are marketing coded specifically.
Yeah, and then then it's off to the races from there, sort of thing.
Yes.
Okay, and then are you having any conversations, particularly through Creatorland, with anyone, or is it all just been continued on LinkedIn?
Everything has been continued on LinkedIn that has been brand deal wise since being on the platform. But I have had a ton of conversations with other creators on the platform. And that is a completely undermined feature of the platform. Like, I've had groups over the years from content creating where you're on TikTok and we have a direct message group, or on Instagram or on YouTube, but it's a different feel when it's people that are on a platform representing their business, not just on the platform being social. And I think there's a lot of value there. I've connected with quite a few creators that are, I'm still in the 5 to 15K space on all platforms. So I've connected with people that are in the 20 to 50K space and sent messages and just, introduced myself vaguely. And of course, not everybody answers, and that's okay. We're all busy, but I have met some really viable people who have given me great structure and great advice or great tips on how to move forward. We've followed each other on socials and connected through there now. So I also think that that's super valuable. I think when you're a content creator, it's a really lonely and isolating job after a while. And you spend a lot of time, in a room with a ring light filming content, and you lose that ability to connect with people. You may connect with people through posting videos or doing all these other things, but you're not working peer to peer like you would in other industries. And I think that gets really lost on people, that can, just like any other job, connecting with your peers and seeing what they're doing and what they're not doing that's making them successful is also helpful.
I completely agree because as a creator, I've had multiple YouTube channels, stopped and started, all these things, but I've always loved to create. But there's not really anyone in my friendship network that I've grown up with that creates like I do. And so it was
Mhm.
always hard to relate, like, oh, how's that podcast of yours going? Or how are your TikToks going? And I'm like, I don't want to talk about it because I know you're not going to understand my passion for it. Uh, and it does become lonely and isolating because you're sitting here, you're editing a video at like 2 a.m. or something, or you're like, what are my next video ideas? What kind of content do I want to post? I wish I just had someone to talk to this about and bounce these ideas off. And that's what I found that myself getting on the platform when I first came into it, I was like, well, there's so many creators here. What the hell? And just having some of those conversations, like, it's so nice to just connect with other people
It is.
that love the same thing that you do. And that fires me up as well. And I had this question, and before I lose it, your outreach process, the way you reach out now with like your specific message, have you found that there's any specific formula to get like a higher open rate, higher reply rate with the way you word it? How do you set up an email or a message? Do you say, hi, my name's Rose from X, Y, and Z? Or do you say, hi, I'm Rose, I create this type of content? Like, what's your pitch, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, so I always start with my prior work experience because, again, I think it just
Yeah.
translates really beautifully. I know that everyone doesn't have that luxury, but I always, believe it or not, someone taught me this years ago and I have stuck with it. I always use emojis in the subject line because it helps push you out of a spam folder.
Hmm.
So it's different depending on who I'm outreaching, but I might put like the star emoji or I try to avoid putting my name and the brand name in the subject line because that's what a lot of creators do, and that tends to just get lost in an inbox.
Hmm.
But I definitely get super creative with my wording of depending on what it is. So I'll say like new project available or marketing experience needed. So try to use buzzwords that would be sensitive to the company. So, like I was saying before, if they don't have a marketing department, like marketing videos made upon request, something like that, with a random emoji that might pair back to their company or be relevant. If it's fashion, maybe put an outfit. If it's beauty, put the lipstick emoji. I find that that gets me a much higher open rate. And I will say the one thing from managing creators that I think is the absolute biggest mistake you can make is the amount of people that use ChatGPT generated emails and send them to companies and just fill in like the mini blanks for them.
Oh yeah.
Because as someone who has been on the receiving end of so many of those emails, I can't tell you, I mean, there were people of like Alex Earl's level, like I'm talking 10 million followers emailing me at Ralph Lauren, like a chat GPT auto response. And I'm like, first of all, don't you have a talent manager at this capacity? And second of all, why is this your outreach?
Hmm.
Because even if I was the correct person, I would never answer this email. So really being specific and tailored, but also not long. Anything over, I always tell people like 3 tweets worth, like 240 characters 3 times is the max that you can write before they're just going to stop reading it. But really highlighting, I always start with highlighting my experience first, then going into what I would like to create. I think a lot of people just outreach and say, like, hi, I'm Rose. This is my experience. This is my rate. See my media card attached.
Hmm.
And the brand's like, oh, okay, like that doesn't give
Yeah.
me absolutely anything. But if I outreach and say, hi, I'm Rose, I come from a luxury fashion background. I would love to create 5 specific fashion videos that, show how to tailor an outfit to a date night, a this night, and really give specific examples of what you plan to create.
Hmm.
That translates so much better to a brand, a company, anybody on the opposite side of that email. Because even if they don't answer, which I don't find happens that often currently, but even if they don't answer, they're going to take that idea and run with it regardless. That it
Yeah.
still gives them creative inspiration. And guess what? They come back later and say, oh, that was the girl that said we should do this kind of video. And then that went viral. So maybe we should reach back out to her.
I think that is such an awesome. I'm really loving that because, and coming back to the Chat GPT stuff, I've put out, ads on Upwork, for example. I need help with XYZ task. and the amount of applications I get from ChatGPT. And I put in the description, do not reply to me with ChatGPT or it's not accepted, straight up. And then I get all these and I'm like, yep, in the bin, I don't care. You're not taking the effort and time to personalize this to what I need. I don't need you, or I don't want to work with you right now. I want someone who's going to be specific. And so that might have flown at the start of the year in January, but quickly people were able to spot that AI generated content and that it's probably just being pumped out. But I love the idea of going, hi, my name's Jake. I have this experience with TikTok and running ad related content. This is the kind of content I would like to create for your brand that I could see doing very well. I've seen a lot of examples. I think these ideas could be really cool. From there, you then do what? Then do you attach your rates or do you just leave it at that? What do you go from there?
Typically on my first outreach, I don't include rates.
Yeah.
I think it's just, I mean, I've worked in sales most of my career and I just think it's kind of a sleazy sales move. There's certain times where it makes sense and it works, but I typically don't. I usually say I can provide you my media sheet upon request, but what I always provide in that first email is some sort of content example. So if I'm saying to them, these are 5 different videos I'd like to create for you, I will link 5 videos that are similar to what I'm saying. So I would like to create like a get ready with me for a date night. And then I link just a video, not the media kit. Because what I did for years in early parts of my journey was send emails with just my media kit. And I'm not going to say it doesn't work, but you're going to get way less of a response than you would if you're showing them what you have to offer. It's just like kind of sales 101, right? Like show them, this is the value I provide. And then they're like, okay, well, how much? And at that point you have negotiating power, where when you just send a rate sheet and they write back yes or no, if the answer is no, the answer is no. You're not going any further.
So I don't know if anyone can see this, but I'm like making a lot of noises and I'm moving around because I'm just like, what you said just made me like, oh my, that makes so much sense. And it is I could see why it's been such a powerful strategy for you. I don't think this is an outreach strategy really that's being talked about in terms of, when I scroll UGC TikTok, it's all about, you've got to pitch to brands. And it's like, well, how do you pitch to brands? Send them a message on their email, tag them in your videos. Yeah, that's all well and good. But you're going, hi, this is my experience. These are the types of content that I would love to create for you. And you give them that amazing value that makes them think, even if they can't, they're not ready to hire you, then they will come back to you because you've just provided them with an amazing level of value that sets you apart from the other thousands of creators that are just going ChatGPT, bang, here's a general message, or just sending their rate cards. Like you're going above and beyond just to deliver something for them and leaving it at that. I think that is a really, really cool strategy for outreach.
And I think that like for creators, I always say like that introduction to yourself should be equivalent to an elevator pitch. Like it should not be more than 60 seconds. It should not be long. It should not be, I've been creating for 4 years and this is what I've gotten. Like nobody wants to hear that. Highlight what you're good at, highlight your focus, give them 1, 2, and at absolute max 3 sentences of who you are and like nail that down. I have clients that I manage on social media and I'm like, one is a vintage reseller, for example, and I tell her all the time, start every video with my name is X and I have been a vintage reseller for 25 years, because the credibility that will build video over video over video will increase your audience naturally, because whether you know what you're talking about or not, they're like, this woman's been doing it for 25 years. And that's the elevator pitch. You have to have that pitch nailed down, whether you're talking about it in a video, whether you're on a podcast, whether you're sending it via email to somebody. Like that pitch should be the very first, before there's a media kit, there should be a 3-sentence pitch of who you are and what you do. And it should not be, I'm Rose and I'm a UGC creator that creates fashion content. Because guess what? There's 2 million people doing that right now. Like that's not stand apart whatsoever. Yeah. And then another big thing when I do attach videos is if you have a viral video, a video that did really well, a video that the likes are really high, that the views are really high, that's relevant to what you're explaining to them, attach that video. Because if they click on it, they're like, oh, this has 100,000 views. She obviously is really respected in this space. Sometimes they're just UGC projects and you haven't even posted them. So then fine, just post your MP4 video and that's fine. But if you can show them the credibility from a platform, it will automatically bump you up from the rest of the
Yeah,
talent.
even as an example there, I was reading an email of like 8 UGC tips from Brands Meets Creators, and one of them was include in your portfolio some sort of case study or statistics. And so that
Mhm.
when, as an example, I then reached out to every company or brand that I've worked with, and I was like, hey, just wanted to follow up and see how the content went. Could you please share with me any analytics, statistics, sales, or whatever, so that I could include that as part of my database, that I can include that in my pitch. And that gives me that credibility so that they can see, hey, they know what they're talking about. Even like a screenshot of a video that a company has potentially posted of yours that has, say, like 150,000 views, you can go into the comments, you can show some of that engagement. That is going to be better than just pop in a video across, yeah, this is the kind of content you can create. It might have only got 200 views. So
Right.
that extra layer, it would probably be very beneficial in the pitch as well. And you can include that in your portfolio.
That's actually the only platform that I use daily other than Creatorland is Brands Meet Creators. So that's funny that you mentioned it.
Really? Okay. So I must be doing something
I
right
think
then.
they give their newsletters are fantastic and they do
Yeah.
give really viable, lucrative advice.
I have one open right now and 3 YouTube videos from Mike that I'm sitting here. I'm like, I swear I will read slash watch everything. I'm just, yeah, I'll get there as well. So in terms of your process, just to redefine it really quickly, you joined the program on Creatorland, you set up your profile, you were really specific and intentional with the words that you wanted people to find you for, like let's say example, UGC beauty, UGC fashion, etc. You then, once you had your profile set up, you started connecting with those in like the CEO, CMFO, whatever brand manager space, like that high level area. Then you, once you checked out their profile, they all had their LinkedIn's connected. You hit their LinkedIn, you did your brand research, made sure that they had no sort of marketing team or very, very lean in terms of that example. And
Mm-hmm.
then made sure that they aligned with sort of what you wanted to create. Then you started your pitch, which was like your elevator pitch, your experience, and then you sort of then came up with some examples of content that you would like to create with them, and you kind of just left it at that. You didn't include any rates cards or anything in that. You provided as much value as you could in that initial consult message or email, so that even if they didn't secure you or go ahead with anything right then, that they would come back to you later on because you provided them with so much value compared to everyone who was just smashing them with generic emails over and over and handing them rates cards without providing any value.
Yep. And then another, let me just really quickly, another quick tip that I love to share with just in general, but I follow this with my Creatorland pitches also, is keep an ongoing Google document of who you've outreach to
Mm-hmm.
and follow up every 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And my own poor example of this is I worked with a company in Q4 last year. I had a great deal with them, and they told me very blatantly, we really don't have a marketing spend outside of Q4. So I said, completely understand. I didn't document it in my own records. And then November comes around. I'm like, I should reach back out to them. I totally forgot. I had content that performed really well. And I recently did and just signed something with them as well. But if you're not keeping track of that, everyone thinks they're going to remember and go back. You're not. You're never going to go back. Even if you go in your email, it's going to be lost in a flood of other emails. Keep an ongoing quarterly document, and the following quarter, reach back out to every single one of them. Even if it's as simple as, hi, Hopeful, as well, following up on the below. Sometimes they open these emails and they don't have a budget, or they go to ask someone a question and they don't get back to it. And just that simple, kind nudge, not like, why didn't you answer my email? Saying something as simple as following up, would like to see if you guys are looking to work together in the upcoming quarter or the upcoming year. I've gotten tremendous results from that. Probably 30% of the people I follow up with the second time I close with.
Mm. And so as we close out this episode, I'm just trying to think, like, I love to ask the question, what your biggest mistake and biggest piece of advice would be for sort of new creators coming into Creatorland to leverage the platform. What could you see a new creator doing that would not gain them any traction after listening to this episode? Is that just joining the platform, sending a bunch of connection requests on the platform, and then doing nothing?
I think it's sending yeah, exactly. It's sending connection requests and doing nothing. It takes more work than that. One, because it's a new platform, and two, because people want to see you work for it. This is not supposed to just be I hit connect and someone says, do you want $4,000 this month? That's not typically how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Your research is more important than anything. So take the time, get familiar with the brands you want to work for, the companies you want to work with, and really spend time evaluating what they do, but also how they spend their money. And a lot of people are like, you can't find that out online, but you can. You can do very minimal research on LinkedIn or Google and find out which companies are looking. Are they in a growth phase? Do they have venture capitalists backing them? Do they have a marketing department? When you look at them on social media, do they only have 2 videos? Because if so, then they probably need someone to create videos. If they have 2,000 videos, they probably have someone already creating them. And doesn't always mean the door is shut, but I think it gets a lot more lucrative when you look at companies that are in their earlier phases and they need the expertise of a creator versus companies that are millions of dollars in and they're paying content creators to go on vacations. I think what a lot of creators do is they target, use beauty, for example. They'll say like, I want Urban Decay, I want Tarte Cosmetic. They're multi-billion-dollar companies and they already have tons of creators by the handful begging. You want to find that next new makeup brand that has nothing out there, no content, they're overseas, they don't know how to translate to an American audience. Those are the kind of companies that are super viable and will project long-term partnerships, not 1 or 2 videos here.
Get in early, pretty much.
Yes.
And where do you see the creator economy moving in the next 1 to 5 years? What is going to be, is UGC taking over? Is that going to be every creator is providing a hell of a lot more value now and the funny trends are moving away? Like, what do you see happening in the space just in general?
It's funny. I think the opposite. I think UGC and trends are starting to kind of morph. Whereas when I started in UGC, I felt like you had to be really unique and specific. And now I see constant UGC ads that are just trends. And I'm like, oh, I mean, I could have done that and it would have taken 10 seconds, but I came up with this crazy good idea instead. As far as the creator economy specifically, it blows my mind every day how quickly it changes and how rapidly. And I don't even know if I could pretend to know what it'll be in a year from now. But I do think watching it over the past 4 years, heading into the next 5, there's going to be a massive shift of artists of all capacities that start getting into this space. And the value is going to be in the people that got in early. It's going to be the same thing as reaching out to brands that are early. It's the people that will have the experience and have been doing it for a long time versus, artists of all capacities coming in because they see the value of it.
Wonderful. Rose, where can our creators who are very interested in your journey and professionals listening to this connect with you?
Yeah, so my Instagram is at rosejordan.ugc and my TikTok is rosejordan_. I'm definitely way more active on TikTok and creator experience. And then I'm starting up my YouTube channel very soon. I've been filming for that. So that's rosejordan_ as well.
Fantastic. Plus, the obvious LinkedIn and Creatorland, which we've pretty much.
I was just going to say, and then for my Creatorland profile.
Yeah, like if you didn't already know, right? So yeah, Rose, thank you so much for sharing all the insights into your incredible experience coming from your old job, sort of moving into a creator. I assume you might be going full time in that space.
I left my corporate job in April, so I've been full time now for about 6 months, and it's been a wild 6 months, but I'm excited for what's to come.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And a big shout out to the creators who stayed through the entire episode and creative professionals to listen to Rose's journey on how you can 3x your income using Creatorland. That is an incredible journey, an incredible experience. And I'm looking forward to getting you back here at the 6-month mark and just sort of touching base and going, hey, have we 10x yet? Are we 100x? Like, where are we at with that sort of thing? So
I can't wait for that too.
I'm super pumped for that conversation. But Rose, thank you so much.
Thank you.